Hello everyone, today is Sunday, August the 16th, 2026, and today I will be speaking on the topic of having a child that was born with a veil or on call. And you're probably here because you've been searching for answers. Or perhaps your child has begun saying things or seeing things or perhaps sensing things or describing experiences that you, my beloved one, cannot explain. You may be curious. You may be perhaps even a little frightened. Perhaps you may be confused. You may even feel overwhelmed because you don't know what you're supposed to do with what your child is telling you. So I want to begin by saying something very important. I'm not here to tell you what your child is. I'm not here to give your child a label. What I want to talk about is something much more important. How do you support a child who is experiencing something we may not understand? So let's begin with the physical birth itself. A baby born with a Caul may have a portion of the amniotic membrane remaining over the head or the face at birth. And then the on-Caul, spelled E-N space C-A-U-L, birth is different. That is when the baby is born while still completely or substantially enclosed within the amniotic sac. These births can also occur during a C-section. That is the physical and medical side of it. What we believe, or what many people believe, these births mean spiritually, is a different subject entirely. Those interpretations come from folklore, from culture, from spiritual traditions, from family beliefs, and also from personal experiences, right? And I think it's important that we make that distinction. We can respect spiritual traditions without presenting spiritual interpretation as medical fact. And why does this subject matter to me, you may be asking? If you haven't seen my previous videos on being born with the veil and what it means, I've done 2, I believe, and now I've had a lot of questions from parents with children who were born on Caul or with a membrane over their faces or their heads. And the subject is deeply personal, because I know what it feels like to be a child who experiences things that the adults around us do not understand. When I was young, I would sometimes say things that I didn't fully understand. Instead of feeling safe enough to talk about those experiences, I learned very quickly that speaking about them would bring fear, punishment, or judgment. At different times, I was threatened for saying certain things, and I truly didn't understand myself what I was saying. And later, and very sadly, I was told that I was demon-possessed. I was also made to understand that people might think I was mad or crazy or emotionally unbalanced. And eventually, I learned to stop talking about what I experienced. I learned to keep that part of myself hidden. And that silence was extremely lonely. That is one of the reasons I wanted to make this video, because silence created by fear is not protection. Safety is. So when your child tells you something unusual, what should you do? Or what should you do if they tell you something that you cannot explain? First, my suggestion would be try not to rush to interpretation. You don't immediately have to decide my child is psychic, my child is a medium, my child is a seer, my child has a spiritual gift. But please don't ridicule them either. Don't immediately tell them that what they experienced was impossible or silly or imaginary or wrong. Instead, listen. You can ask very simple questions. What happened? Tell me what happened. What did you see or what did you hear? How did you feel? And were you frightened? You don't have to have the answer. Sometimes one of the safest things I believe a parent can say is, I don't know what that was, sweetheart, but you can always tell me. That sentence tells the child something far more important than any explanation could. It tells them you're safe with me, or they are safe with you. And I'm going to say something because I've been in spiritual groups where people have really not protected their children's privacy. And I thought it was detrimental. And this is something that I personally feel very strongly about. Your child's experiences are not entertainment. If your child tells you something unusual, please don't immediately ask them to perform it for other people. Don't make them tell grandma. Don't ask them to demonstrate their gift for visitors. Don't unnecessarily announce the experience to church members, to teachers, to neighbors, to relatives or friends. And please be very careful about giving them a spiritual identity that they then feel obligated to perform. They should not have to become the psychic child, the veiled child, the gifted child, or the special child. Let them play, let them laugh, let them be silly, let them get dirty, let them make mistakes, and let them be ordinary. Let them be children, is what I beg of you. Whatever else may eventually become part of their identity can, and I guarantee you, it will unfold in its own time. And what would you do if your child gets genuinely distressed? I beseech you to get help. There is another side of this we have to talk about responsibly. If your child is frightened, beloved, by what they are experiencing, if they are losing sleep, if they begin withdrawing from other people, if they are struggling at school, if they are hearing or seeing things that are distressing to them, or if anything they are experiencing is interfering with the ability to function normally, please seek professional help. Talk with your doctor, and if necessary, seek appropriate psychological or mental health support. Seeking medical or psychological help does not betray your spiritual beliefs. I've had to do it for myself. It is part of carrying responsibility for your child. You can believe that your child genuinely experienced something without claiming to know exactly what caused it or what that something is. Those two things can certainly exist together. You can remain spiritually open while still making sure that your child is medically, psychologically, and emotionally safe. And this is my personal experience and interpretation of what I feel about this. And it's a simple imagery that has helped me understand these births. I say this because when I think about being born with a veil, I sometimes think of a window. Perhaps it represents someone who notices things which is not normally immediately obvious. It's someone who may see beneath appearances, someone who senses or notices things that other people may overlook. And that's the part that I personally struggled with, but I'm not going to make this about me today. And when I think about an on-call birth, I think about a sanctuary, a child entering this world still surrounded by the membrane that protected them before birth. I find that image very beautiful, but I don't believe that one kind of birth makes someone stronger, better, more gifted, or spiritually more important than another. They are simply images that have helped me think about my own experiences. And your interpretation might be completely different, and that is okay. And the thing is this, for many years, I hid this part of myself. And eventually I was fortunate enough to have someone in my life who accepted me, even during the years when I was not ready to make this part of myself public. And over time, I reached a place where I could finally say, I know who I am. I don't have to apologize for it any longer. And I don't have to force anyone else to believe what I believe, see, or feel. And when I think about children who may be having unusual experiences today, what I hope for them is that they may feel safe, that they will have a safe space with you, where they can speak freely and openly without feeling criticized or judged, or that something was wrong with them. Perhaps the goal isn't to raise a child who can someday prove that they have a gift. Perhaps the goal is much simpler. Perhaps it is to raise a child who becomes an adult, who is not ashamed of themselves. Yeah, many of us have lived with shame for many years, including myself, and you may have experienced this too. So, an adult who knows they can trust their own experiences while still remaining curious. You want to raise your child to be an adult who knows when to ask for help, an adult who never has to choose between being loved and telling the truth about what they experienced. And in closing, I want to say this. If your child comes to you with something you don't understand, you don't have to have all of the answers, beloved. And on this note, I also want to take the opportunity to ask you, if you have a child like this, would you please share with us in the comments and tell us what your experience has been, what you have struggled with, what you have found helpful, so it may help other parents who are in a similar situation to you. And another important thing, you don't have to decide immediately what it means. You don't have to give it a name. Just remember this. Listen before you interpret. Comfort before you explain. And give your child enough safety to become who they are in their own time. It's a tough enough journey, believe me. If I haven't said it before, my name is Nola, and I'm glad you've stayed this long. Welcome to my channel. Welcome to all of my new subscribers. If you like this, would you please consider giving it a thumbs up, sharing it with someone you think may be able to use this information or get some comfort from it. And if you yourself know that you were born with a veil or on call, would you mind sharing your experiences with us? I'm not saying that children that are born without a veil or without being on call are super different to other children. I just believe, and I know from experience, it makes some of us, some of them, super sensitive to other things that other people may not be aware of. And I know that in this day and age, we are so quick to put labels on children as being autistic or on the spectrum or whatever. I'm not an expert. I've told you to seek medical and professional advice. And sometimes you may even have to seek spiritual advice. Until the next time, I hope you'll take care of yourself. I trust that you will be kind to others you meet along the way, because kindness is so important. Bye for now, and thank you for being here today.